So hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Assetto Corsa Competizione video. Now we're here in the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. The first time I'll be driving this car in this video or ever. A suggestion from one of my YouTube subscribers just to try and do a setup for the McLaren or my personal opinions on the McLaren. So I haven't driven this car at all since we're coming to the game here. I'm hopefully just going to do a little bit of a hot lap session, something that I enjoy doing at Spa. Obviously we've just had the weekend at Spa in the Formula 1, a brilliant weekend, very mixed race but a thoroughly enjoyable race despite seeing Max Verstappen eventually come from 6th to reach P1 and then just obliterate the entire field once he was out front, but I think he thoroughly enjoyed the day. But coming back to the game, hopefully we're going to run through Rouge a number of times, see how the car feels, just get my first opinion of the car. I'm not going to do much of a setup within this first portion of the video. I'm going to kind of just see how the car feels in the standard setup and just run a number of laps and just give my opinion of how the car feels. And then I'll do my own personal setup, which will kind of be like the second part of this video. I'll probably do that over the space of a day or two just to get used to how the car feels, and then hopefully somewhere within the mix I'll feature probably another video. I'll probably run Wednesday night's GT4 class. I'm really enjoying the feel, the guys racing in that. But yeah, let's move along. We've just cut to the screen. We can look in the garage. I would love them to just sort out these images so that we can just see the perfect image of the car, the tyres. It's kind of pointless, some of these screens. I do prefer it how they used to run all in focus. I do enjoy the other cut screens as you come to the race circuit and there's things that are kind of out of perspective, but for these ones I really would just like to see the detail on the cars. I'd probably like to see more detail, probably something that will come in Forza Motorsport. You'll be able to really look around the car and see the real detail that's gone into it. Kind of really looking forward to Forza, but I know that I'm going to be fully disappointed when it arrives, but still the hype's probably better than the game itself. But as much as someone else pointed out on the channel that it feels like the fan base for ACC is dwindling, a lot of people don't race in online lobbies. They race in organised events, organised lobbies. Definitely take a look at the XCL website if you're looking at racing and you want to race clean drivers that are interested in racing, not just young kids that are doing it to pass the time of day. The people that are interested in racing, they've taken the time to go and look for lobbies away from those people, and those are the kind of people that you want to be racing against. So yeah, let's just come into this session. Obviously you can see I'm running the hot lap session just around midday. I don't like messing too much with temperature settings and getting it as cold as possible to try and run the possible fastest lap times. These are the settings that I just leave in here constantly, so that every setup I do is run with the same settings. You can see an old lap time there of 2:16.8 in the Ferrari from an old version of the game. But yeah, I'd like to think, having seen GD Partick in the 2:16s, I'd like to think somewhere along the line I'd be hitting like a low 2:18, maybe into the 2:17s if I spend a number of days here trying to get that ultimate lap time. But in all honesty, I think just into the 2:18s I'd be really happy. To start getting into these crazy lap times, 2:16, 2:17, you're spending hours here. You really are exploring the limits of the car and you're learning this circuit inside out. Tiny areas where you could be quicker on the throttle, areas where you could brake slightly differently. There's a heck of a lot goes into setting the perfect lap, and sometimes the pursuit of perfection just isn't worth it for me anymore. I just enjoy driving the cars and getting a consistent lap time from them. 9 times out of 10, people that you race aren't setting these crazy lap times. They're just normal people you're racing against. So let's get into this first look at the McLaren at Spa. Still running version 1.9.2, and it's these cutscenes that I do really enjoy, in a slightly different aspect ratio, so that you can see them in like blurred sections. I don't mind it on this screen. But anyway, let's get into this setup. I think I'm going to leave the cambers where they are for now, something that I would usually change instantly. I'm going to add some more weight to the wheel. Always find around 12 is pretty good. The old McLaren really didn't allow you to run this kind of weight through the wheel. I think it always maxed out around 9 or 10, but it always felt really light on the wheel. I think from totally cold, 24 psi, I think we're going to struggle to reach 27, 26. So I'm just gonna put all these to 25 psi. I'm sure we'll build at least more than 1 psi while we're racing. Traction control, ABS, definitely not. In fact, let me just load the aggressive preset because it'll probably be much better. So let's just add a little bit more weight to the wheel. I'll go 12.1. I'm not going to add full camber because I think in 1.9 it's not the best way to go. Traction control, I'm going to run at 6 and 6. I'll leave the brake balance at 3, or the ABS at 3. We're always going to drop to 1. It just feels better. I'm going to run definitely less bias, probably 52 to start with. 52 is a good ballpark, and yeah, I'll maybe leave that as it is as well. Definitely going to leave that screen as it is. I'm just going to drop these brake ducts down to 3, and yeah, let's see where we go. It'd be nice to keep the rear wing really low because of the camel straight. So, and obviously we're coming into the car for the first time. This horrible dashboard layout. Let's just change this view position. So, just gonna get that central in my screen, and let's just take that away a little bit because that's way too close for me. And just bring the height of it down a little bit. Could maybe even come a little bit further back than that, just so I can see the A-pillar. Even that seems too far away. I just like to feel like I'm reaching for the dashboard, and if I can touch the dashboard, it's probably about right. So I can see all the dashboard, which is pretty good. So I'm just going to save that there. You'll see in my field of view settings I've got 40 degrees because I'm sat pretty close to my screen and I've got a 32-inch monitor. I think it should be about 35, but 40 feels better for me personally. So we're going to quit that because we've already saved it and we've not changed anything. So yeah, let's turn a lap. So first outing in the McLaren, that raspy engine. See if it's going to go through a rouge flat out. Clipping that inside corner. So no squirminess under acceleration. So I might be able to drop those traction control settings down. Definitely feel like I needed to lift. Tyres nowhere near at the temperature to carry a rouge flat out. So 250, a long way off. 260, 263. A little bit loose at the rear. Feels nice through there. See how Puan feels. Ooh. Just didn't feel like it wanted to turn in. See if we can get flat on the exit. Pretty good through there. Stavalo. Feels pretty nice turning through there though, no dramas whatsoever. Slows down really nicely. A little bit of oversteer. Maybe just need to lift the preload slightly. So just adjust that traction control. See if we can get away with this. Just felt like it was running wide. See if we're a little bit faster. 220, 264, that was perfect. Just feels like I want to shift early. Not holding the gear too much. Rear tyres still aren't in the good temperature window. PSI. Brakes are maybe a little bit cool. Lots of rotation. So those are the tenths that we've gained. So we've lost a lot of tenths as well. A little bit out of control there, I think. Try and get the car slowed down a tiny bit earlier here. Absolutely the same lap time really. So 2:19.5. So I'm going to finish the video just there. We'll just see this beautiful car drive around the circuit. And yeah, I do try and keep my footage down within my library to be able to store all these laps. I don't really save these videos at all. But yeah, I'll start tweaking the car and see where we go from a 2:19.3 or 4 was it? But thoroughly enjoying driving the McLaren here. Really enjoying that. But yeah, I'll finish off the setup and I'll get back to you. Ciao for now. So hello, welcome back. Obviously we're looking midway through this video. Obviously you can see things have changed considerably just looking at the screen that we're on now. You can see that I've managed to get down to 2:17.3, albeit that we've dropped the track temperature somewhat. But let's just look on board with the setup that we're currently using. And as you can see, I've got 2:17.890 at the top there at 30 degrees, so it's still capable of hitting a 2:17 lap, even with 30 litres of fuel on board. But there are a lot of things to consider when using the McLaren. So we'll just quickly fly through the setup that I'm currently using. And I'll reload it to show you the tyre pressures that I used for the 30 degree temperature in just a second. But tow, it's really is an issue about getting this car to not rotate so much when you're pushing really hard with the car. So really lowering or slightly lowering the tow at the rear of the car to stop the over rotation. Obviously we've added a little bit more caster to the wheel, so it's slightly heavier. I'm running traction control 5, but I also dropped a traction control 3, which is a huge element of this setup. If you can run with a lower traction control and you're used to it and you don't mind feathering the throttle more than you would need to if you had it on 5 consistently, but having it on 5, you're not going to get the drive off the corners as you would with it on 3. It's so apparent when you change traction control from 5 to 3. Obviously we've run a short fuel session in this session, doesn't really matter. Anti-roll bars, really stiffening out the front of the car to try and get it to not rotate so much, because we have dropped a considerable amount of rear wing. The brake balance again is always going to be something that's preferential to yourself, and I've changed this to 53.6. I should change that in the setup. Coming to the ride heights, again just trying to stiffen out the front of the car. You'll see as we move to the dampers, the front dampers are far stiffer than the rear dampers, so you need to always consider that when you're setting the suspension up. If you've got stiff front suspension, you should have stiffer front dampers. A huge amount of preload at the rear of the car, trying to get the car more stable under braking and trying to have as much acceleration off the corner as I can. One thing I have noticed in 1.9 is predominantly I am putting the preload to absolute maximum. It just seems to accelerate off the corner far better. Key issues with the rear dampers was adding this rebound. Just helped to add a little bit more stability to the rear of the car. And then looking at the ride height, we have dropped the ride height from 8 to 2. But all these are the things that are being considered when losing some rear end downforce, is changing the balance of the car by increasing more front end stiffness to try and add more rear end stability. So as much as we've lost some rear wing, we've also added more rotation, we've added some front splitter, and we've reduced the rear wing. So you'll notice as well on the brake ducts, the front brakes do get fairly hot in the braking zones, but with the time that we get in between corners and heavy braking sections, reducing the brake ducts to 2 is definitely usable. You could have them open to 3 if it's much hotter conditions, say above 35-40 degrees, I would probably open them to 4, or probably open them to 3 in higher track conditions. Let's just come on board and do a lap. Sorry. Pity we can't just fast forward out of here. So I'll try and just talk you around the first part of the lap, and then we'll look at our roos separately. So we're going to be flying down here in 6th gear. And again, as we come into this braking zone here, this is kind of where you want to be braking. It's a little bit before the red and white curbs, because if we get the car settled before the turning, it's far more stable to kind of have a little squeeze on acceleration, carry a little bit more exit corner speed, rather than slowing the car down right the way, trail braking to the corner. If we get the car slowed down much earlier, we can carry actually more speed through the corner as we just lift off. So we're going to be hitting 2nd gear, take as much of this inside curb as we can, a little squeeze of acceleration all the way over this curb, obviously not bringing the right hand side tyres over the white line, and then we can squeeze the accelerator in 2nd, a little blip into 3rd gear, dropping the traction control down to 3, so we've got as much acceleration off this corner as we can. Try not to clip the inside curb, running all the way out onto the green stuff and accelerating down, changing the traction control to 5, braking at the curbs on the left hand side there, a late change down to 1st gear, and then as we start to feel the grip again, accelerating hard up into 2nd gear, maximum 2nd gear, and we start to lift off, a tiny dab of brake, get the car to rotate. Don't want to touch any of this inside curb. You might feel like you've carried more speed through it, but for some reason it just scrubs speed. So if you can just clip this inside yellow section of curb, you've nailed the corner perfectly. Coming off here, down into traction control 3 for the exit. Power out on the exit. Use some of that curb if you can, but obviously running too wide, you'll pick up a track penalty. You'll be up to 5th gear, I think, just before this corner. 2 shifts down, and then a shift down just at the apex into 3rd gear. Just letting the car run, and then we can be absolutely maximum. Still in traction control 3, accelerating off, and then we're changing to traction control 5. The rear end gets very squirmy through this section. Braking just as we hit the curb ball, a tiny bit before it, get the car slowed down 3rd, 2nd gear, and then we're just rolling through here, back on the throttle. Big squeeze of acceleration through here, and then a lift off, get the car to rotate, and then back on the power on exit, down to 3rd on the traction control, accelerating off, down to 5th on the traction control, braking hard, down into 2nd gear, don't touch any of that inside curb, and then back on the power, traction control 3 for the exit, and then full power all the way around. Clip some of this inside curb, keep on the power all the way, there's no lifts through there at all. You can change back to traction control 5 because we're going to come to a very heavy section of acceleration. Ooh, just a tiny touch of brake pedal there sent me squirming all over the place. So as we come through here, I've broke a little bit early, we can take this one. Yeah. For this corner, I'll just reverse back a tiny bit. No rear view mirror. Oh! Disqualified for driving the wrong way. How can I be disqualified in a free practice session? So as we come back on board again then, I'm going to try and carry this through here and just understand that I'm turning into this corner probably earlier than I would need to. So really turning nice and early so we don't get a track limits penalty just here. Heavy on the brake pedal, down to 1st, and we're really wanting to sort of bring the car take a wide line and carry as much speed as we can through the apex, down to traction control 3, and let's just try and ease into this lap. TC5, Braking at the board on the right hand side, get the car turned in nice and early, accelerate TC3. Just you'll feel that acceleration as you put to TC3. Leave it on traction control 3 as we come through our rouge, and we're just going to come through clipping this inside sort of section of concrete. Obviously didn't nail it there, we haven't actually got tyre pressure just yet. So back to TC5, braking nice and early. Pick up this inside curb, little squeeze, use some of that curb. TC3, you just feel the acceleration as you go to 3. Just touching the brake pedal on and off the throttle. Back to TC3. Leave it on TC3. Early braking in so we can accelerate earlier. TC5. Braking at the shadow. TC3. TC5. TC3. Does feel really nicely set up, to be honest. Doesn't feel like any real dramas. Apart from this corner where we need to turn in nice and early. Braking now just after the 150 board. Just doesn't want to come down them gears sometimes. TC3. And across the line for a low 218. Again, just not wanting to come down through the gears. Try and get this line right. Take much more curb at the moment. I think they've got rid of that horrible bump. Used to be a horrible bump at the bottom of Rouge. Nice and early on the brake. Maybe a little bit too early. Terrible section, to be honest, that. No one's going to give you a 218, you've got to earn it. Too wide, I think. We've already picked up a track limit penalty, I think, going through our Rouge. So we'll try one more lap absolutely flat out. See if we can nail it on the last lap. See, we're already running very low on fuel. Just clipping the inside curb. Just see the acceleration as we drop down to TC3. You will not get the same acceleration in TC5. So not once have I managed to get through there properly. We'll try and finish the lap out, and obviously you'll see on the replays try not to take that like that. It is a real pleasure to drive. So we're not going to actually get a representative lap that we can actually put on the leaderboard for red laps. We're across the line for a 2:17.6. Apologies for not being able to get a perfect lap. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the setup for the McLaren here, the 720 S Evo. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Yeah, if you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, please do so. Obviously the thumbs up button would be great. Leave a comment, and yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. Ciao for now.